Parts are starting to roll in for the bike, so we're starting to get it together. The clutch cable came, and check this out. It's absolutely the perfect length. All hooked up, shifters on, chains on. You got to take this cover off, do the clutch cable and the chain, so that's why I waited to do it all at the same time. But yeah, we got an O-ring chain on there. There's the master link. And the clutch is adjusted. The clutch is stuck again. It's stuck engaged. It's probably because it's been sitting and not run, and I know what it is, you know, so there's nothing wrong with the clutch, and I'll just wait and start it up and let it warm up a little bit, and it should be okay once it warms up a little bit. But there we go. We got the clutch cable on and the chain and the shifter. And these are the bolts for these covers. And I'm going to grind the writing off of them. I'm going to paint them satin black so they don't stand out like a sore thumb on the covers. And the fender, everything's looking good. This is the next day. Paint's dry to the touch. Feels hard, but yeah, it looks really nice. This is the end that was all smashed up. Yeah, it came out pretty good, I think. I'm very happy with it. It's going to look nice on the bike once it's together. Just thought I'd show. And then the ignition system, I'm going to have to find out if there's let's see, these are the points. I'll find the black with the white and see if it's got a resistor in it or not, if it's full 12 volts or if it's a resistance wire. And we'll have to hook the 12 volts up to the component elsewhere that's keyed if it is. I don't care if the coils have resistors. The ignition component has to have a full 12 volts to it. Just got back from the hardware. I got new screws. They're stainless steel to replace the ones that originally held the fender brackets on, and I think I'm just gonna buff the head up a little shinier. And then I got rubber washers for between the metal washer and the fiberglass cover, and I ground the writing off the bolts and painted them so they look a little better without that writing on them. And the covers, I think I'm going to give a light, maybe 1500 sand and buff, because there's a speck of dirt here, right there. I think that's it. That's the only speck of dirt, but I think I'm just gonna give them a little light buff anyway eventually. I'll let it dry about a month and then I'll give it a quick sand and buff. Look at how nice that looks. That looks amazing. I'm super happy with that. And I say I'll probably give it a 1000 or 1200 sand and buff. Yeah, probably will never buff it, but you never know. It looks really, really nice, but a buff would maybe buff the tank lightly, just very lightly buff that. But that's got to dry at least 30 days before I buff. I like acrylic enamel to harden up good before buffing. Doesn't that look nice? A little dust on it. That off. I tried to get my smudgies off of it, but yeah, I think that looks really nice on the bike. We'll start working on the front fender, though. I need to have part of the caliper on to install a front fender, so maybe I'll start cleaning that up right now so I can paint the bit at least. At least I'll probably paint all these bits. But I can take this off, I think, without opening the hydraulic system. And then I can, you know, clean it up. And these bolts here hold the fender bracket. I think this is the side the brake goes on, but those bolts go through these too. So I gotta get that thing ready, and then I can put the fender. Looks really, really nice. Really happy with the way it looks. It's a good paint match and everything. Everything about it I like. This is the bottom back. That's that run. It shrunk down a bit as the paint dried, and I think I'm just going to leave it because the trim on here and this the bottom, you won't see it, and if you do, I'll just fingertip sand just the run and fingertip buff just the run. I won't use a machine to buff that, but that looks really good. Very happy with it. Caliper is apart, and this is the piece I'm going to blast right now. Make sure everything's good on it, and I'm going to polish these up and get it ready to paint. I'm going to paint these too. I think this might give this a quick blast, take the pad out, little split pin holds it. I might leave the pad in, just mask it. These are going to just need a light blasting and then shoot some paint on. I don't know, I'm going to be painting, if I paint this now, I'm going to be painting silver again later. I'd like to paint all the silver at once, so we'll see if we can get it all done now or not. It's kind of cold out, but it's not snowing or anything. Give everything a quick blast here and prime and these so they move in the caliper somewhat a little easier. This goes on the piston here like so. So anyway, yeah, let's get these buffed up and this painted up and the caliper will be done. I bead blasted that too. I didn't do anything with that. I actually put that in a bag so I wouldn't get blasting stuff on it, but this pretty sealed up, so I'll paint that satin black. I did a little videoing yesterday, and then I took the camera in the house to do a little editing, you know, break up the editing time, and there was no video on the memory card. But anyway, I put the front fender on. Sorry about the lack of video. It was no big deal. I just put in these two bolts and these two a little bit just to hold the fender in place, and then I put these on and routed the cable so it for the speedometer so it's all good. And you saw the clutch cable that's installed. I'm sure you saw this. This video has been over a week, but yeah, I got it adjusted and it seems to be good. And shifters on. I'm going to paint the underneath edges back in here of the gas tank. The back side you don't see, I'll mask it on here. I'm going to paint it flat black because when it's really bright you can totally see. Let me get a light and I'll show you what you can see, and I just think it looks bad. See how you can see, and that's just kind of oversprayed in there. It's not even totally covering it. And I just think, you know, when it's out in the sun and that shows, it would just look nicer if that was flat black. Kind of did that with these chrome bits where the chrome was bad, and the underside of the fenders, and the underside of the fenders are satin black though, but they look much nicer. So I just kind of wanted to show the bike. The throttle cables, I talked to the people I ordered them from earlier, and they said they should be, they were waiting on one cable. I think they got the pull, they don't have the push, and they're getting that, and I guess they're being made. So once they're done, they'll be on the way. So I should have them probably mid next week, and the brake hose showing by February 4th. That came all the way from China, the brake hose, so that's why it's taken a while to get here. And then we'll hopefully, you know, I get this stuff painted. I just been waiting on the weather. It's been brutal. Oh, and I fixed this too. Yeah, I've had this. The tray was broken off, and this was, I couldn't find this. Well, I found this, And then I found the tray. It was inside here. I must put it in there, so I glued the tray back on, but it's a coin bank. So you put your, I don't think I have a coin in my pocket. No, so you put a coin on there, push the button, and it shoots it into the car, and then you open the trunk to access your coins. It shoots it in through the window. I'll see if I can find a coin and I'll show you. I also had to clean this thing up. It was pretty hideous, dirty, dirt-wise. So you can put your, we'll put a 1985 quarter on the tray. That's what the customer in the Thunderbird requested for their meal, is to eat a quarter. So let's send it into the car. What do you say? There we go. Oh, it went over the car. Didn't go in. Maybe I glued the, thought I glued the tray on properly. There we go. In the car now. Good deal. I'm hoping tomorrow I can paint these bits and pieces. It's just been, like I say, I think it's yesterday. I don't think it got out of the single digits. It was 4 or 5 below the night before. And I've cleaned the snow up twice, and it's snowing out pretty good right now. Looks really beautiful. So yeah, I don't want snow stuck in the paint. So tomorrow, there's a tree crew's supposed to come and trim that tree. So I don't know if there'll be sawdust raining down or not, but hoping tomorrow I can paint those bits for the brakes. If not, I'll do it the day after that, or a day we don't get stuff flying through the air, sawdust or snow. It's right on 30 degrees right now. It's the warmest it's been in about 4 or 5 days. I also sold that Montgomery Ward 79 Montgomery Ward 20-inch self-propelled snowblower, so I had to get my old Aaron's 2-stage out and get it going. This hasn't been used in a couple of years. I used it this morning. When I got it out, yeah, I couldn't get it to start. I had to plug in the electric starter and crank it like crazy with the choke all the way out. And it finally got going, but it was hunting, and I ended up just taking I didn't take carburetor apart or off. I just took this cover off and took this out right here. I didn't take the screw out. I just took this nut out and sprayed some power tune, and I counted the idle mixture screw turns open and sprayed this stuff here into the jets and let it sit for a minute, and threw it back together, and tell you what, it lit right up, and it started first pull today. And today had been, and it was out in the shed, so it was cold, and it was, I think, 7 this morning. So yeah, it was brutal cold, and one pull it lit right up. The snow blowed the whole driveway nicely. So yeah, the old Aaron's, it's a 1976. That thing's still running really nice too. I noticed that it leaks out of the seal just ever so slightly, so I did check the oil in the gearbox, and it was okay, but I think this summer I'll have to put new seals in that. I think I showed this too, maybe I didn't, but I put the side covers on. I painted the bolts. I ground the writing off of them, or sanded the writing off of them, painted them, and put a rubber washer between the metal and the plastic. That's where was it this one that was broken? I think it was. Or was it? I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at the video. I think it was this one that was broken. But anyway, you can see some dust and dirt from the seat. The media from bead blasting the pan on the seat falls out when you sit on it and stuff. So I'm going to have to take that off and blow it out with compressed air really good. And I want to clean the seat and make it a little, seeing if I can do something with the vinyl to make it look a little blacker and cleaner. We'll continue on the video once we get some painting weather and some more parts. I did get, have been getting parts. I got a whole fuel petcock, so I ordered a kit. They didn't have the kit in stock, so they just sent me a petcock for the same price. I got the little rubber piece for the brake hose. You'll see that. The lower brake hose, the gas tank, the thing that mounts the gas tank was missing. you know, I've just been setting it there since I've owned it. So anyway, I got a new one. So that's ready to go on. And I still have the electronic ignition to put in. So the bike will be finished soon enough. I'm going to paint the bottom of the tank and install this in the next day or two. Get this stuff painted and installed. I already painted the valve. I'm going to paint this. And hose comes, you know, throttle cables. The bike's just about complete other than riding it to see if I need to rejet the carbs or not. All right, we'll continue on with the video once I get some more parts here. Well, looks like we got good enough weather to do a little painting, so let's mix up the paint and we'll get the brackets here. These, I got to paint these and this. And I'm just going to use my door jamb gun here. And I'm just going to mix the paint directly in the cup. So it's just not going to need much paint. Probably mix, but so I'll probably put maybe that much paint, that much reducer, and that much hardener. I just mix it by eye. I've done so many thousands of cups of paint through this to where it's just easier, quicker and easier for me to do by eye. I'll filter the paint as I do put it in there though. I'll filter the reducer, and I'm going to use fast dry reducer again. Yeah, I think this is the end of the parts that need spray gun painting. I painted this too. I tried to buff it, but yeah, it just wasn't looking nice buffed, and it looked like it was originally painted. So it's painted again. And there we go. That's painted, that's painted, that's been painted. So I gotta paint that with trim black. That'll be rattle can. And the underside of the fuel tank will be rattle can. So I'll do that another day. I don't want to stir up anything onto my fresh paint while it's still slightly tacky. See, it's still sticking to my finger. So if I was going to lay another coat on, right now would be the time. Maybe it's still a little too wet because it was sticking to my finger. In the cold weather, you got to wait longer between coats. A little more dry time. Doesn't really affect the paint, just as long as you give it a little more dry time. Let me show you what I did today. I didn't video much of it because it's, you know, pretty boring. Just I painted the underside of the gas tank. So all I did was mask it and take a rattle can of Rust-Oleum flat black, and I'm changing the petcock, so, and I'll clean it up after I take it off, but I'll put a new petcock on there. I got a brand new one. That's just got to dry overnight, and then we'll throw on the new petcock. I got the brake hoses off and the new one on. I cleaned up the thing for the holds the master cylinder and the brake line hardware. I cleaned that up too, and put the caliper on. You saw I painted it, and you know, it's just 1, 2, 3 bolts. This, which basically just pushes it back once you release the brake. That spring, this thing pivots in here, so when you apply the brakes, you know, it does this. And I got the new brake hose run up to the junction block. I don't know if you can see that or not. The wires hooked up to the switch. There, now you can see it, and that's where the line will connect to go on up to the master cylinder, which I did paint too. I drained the fluid out of everything, so it's going to get all, and I cleaned it out, everything out with brake clean, so hopefully it still works. I'm going to put all new fluid, bleed it all new fluid. I didn't get brake clean in where the, you know, I cleaned everything and then I put brake fluid in just to, so it wouldn't be dry. And that's why the paper towel's in there, in case any drips out, because I didn't, before I painted it, I did that. so that it wouldn't, and this end here isn't painted. That's where the hydraulic hose, I think this is the end that goes on the master. Yeah, that's the rubber boot that kind of dresses it up, which I have brand new. And the brake hose should be here in the next day or two. It's in the area. It came all the way from China. I think it was in Ohio, so I suspect in a couple of days I'll have it. And the throttle cables, like I say, I think I stated the pull cable is they have, that's the pull or the push cable are waiting on. And so once they get that, I should have them next week too. And then the bike is really finished other than the electronic ignition. Put the master cylinder on and the brake, you know, all this stuff here, as you can see. And I did, the gas tank looks nice with that painted flat black in there. When you look in there now, you don't see all that overspray and old paint. The original gold paint, this bike was originally gold, and the paint would show when you'd look in there when the light was shining just right on it, and it just looked like heck. So that's why I painted the underside flat black, and I put a new petcock on because the other one, the screen was torn, the seals needed replacing, and this nut was somebody put vice grips on it in the past and messed it up. So that is a brand new one, identical to the original one, surprisingly. So if it's aftermarket, they did a superb job of making it. So anyway, there we go. I did polish up the tank a little bit. Came up quite nice. The new brake hose finally came. I'm still waiting on the throttle cables. So we may wrap up this video here because the throttle cables might be another week or so. Because the, I think the pull throttle cable, or the push throttle cable is one that is still on back order or whatever. You know, they make them to your specifications. They're not terribly expensive. I think they're 50 bucks. Well, they are expensive. It was 50 bucks for the pair. But anyway, we got the hydraulic line all bolted on, and I'm gonna bleed it out and check for leaks. So let me find a wrench that fits that bleeder. Yeah, it's an 8. Let me get a regular wrench instead of a ratcheting one, and see if I can find a 8. Here we go. And I'm going to put my little bleeder thing on there so I don't ruin the paint there. It's all done up nice. So let me draw some fluid through there, and then we'll put the cap on and pump it up and do it that way too. I'm going to do it to begin with let's see here, which I'm going to start out using that and my little handheld, if I can find it, this, my handheld vacuum pump. So we're going to use those things to get the fluid started. There's little fittings in here for different size bleeders, and I think it's probably going to be that one. Nope. Maybe that one. That one. All right. It's pretty cut and dry. I had this bleeder, well, maybe this box, oh, it's too far down. I was going to say, I had this bleeder open once already. There we go. Oh, the fluid's starting to flow already. There we go. I just don't want to have, the brake fluid will mess up the paint. Put my vacuum pump on there. You can see the fluid starting to flow as the vacuum drops. Ooh, that's not good. Now I got to start over. I guess that doesn't hold as much as what I thought. I'll just have to keep that topped up while that's sucking down. That's not good. Now I got to start completely over. Yeah, you can see the fluid level. It might just be gravity bleeding now. I want to get a lot of fresh fluid through here, so I'm going to then I'll pump it up and open the bleeder a couple times too, just to make sure. I think that might be enough to where I can do the pumping, and it's hard to do this one-handed. Alright, the bleeder is closed. Let me take my vacuum pump off, and then I'll just pump the brake handle and then work this open and closed. I think I'm going to put my wrench on here though, like so I can just do a quick open and close with it. Maybe I'll put on the smaller one of these. This one's falling off now. Now it has some brake fluid on it. Well, that's almost full already. So I've obviously circulated the fluid through the system. Get my vacuum pump so I don't step on it. Let me see how much fluid's in the... Yeah, there's enough in there to pressure bleed it. Just want to set the cap on because generally it squirts when you pump them up. Oh, it's got a nice, feels nice. Okay, that's pumped up. Hang on, I'll set the camera up here. So you can kind of get the picture of how I pump it up, right? Let me see what all you're looking at. Yeah, you're looking at the caliper. Alright, so I pump it up by hand. Open the bleeder. Close the bleeder once the thing's all the way to the handle. Then I'm going to pump it up again. Open the bleeder. It's all the way to the handle again. Now I'm going to check the fluid, and then I'm going to do that maybe one or two more times because this actually feels really good right now. I don't see any leaks. Yeah, nothing's leaking. We'll do it two more times after I check the fluid here. Crap, I'm getting fluid everywhere. That fluid is still full. Yeah, this is not good. This stuff eats paint. Yep, I'm going to have to touch up that paint right there. Lovely. Well, that's part of doing projects. Alright, and that's pretty full right there. So we're going to call that good. That's tight. And I'm going to wipe out, see if I can soak some of that fluid out of the tip of the bleeder screw. So you know where it's going to end up if you don't. It's going to end up on the paint. Alright, let me finish up cleaning things up here, and then I'll do an overview, and then we'll wrap this video up. There we go. It's all the paints touched up in there. The brakes work nice. This is just before it hits the piston. So once it hits the piston, it moves that much, and the brakes work. It stops the bike. The forks push down. You release it. Obviously, it releases. And obviously, I flushed all the fluid through it. But anyway, this is kind of what the bike's looking like. All I'm waiting on is extended, I'll clean up my mess a little bit here. Extended throttle cables. It came with new these, the brake hose did, but I'll save these, you know, I mean, keep them around. But this is what I'm waiting on, is the longer throttle cables. So as soon as they come, and I got to put the electronic ignition on, and then this is the rubber mount for the gas tank, and I'll put that on after the electronic ignition. The gas tank mount will be the very last thing I put on, because the gas tank's got to come off to run the wiring for the electronic ignition. I want to pull the seat off and clean it yet. So there'll be one more video probably on this bike, and that'll be the final of getting the throttle cables on. I'll do a separate complete video of just installing the electronic ignition and put the throttle cables and cleaning up the seat and just finishing up the little odds and ends extras. Will be in the final video. This is, you know, the bike is essentially done, other than throttle cables and the electronic ignition. It has spark with the points condenser, but I'll just kind of give you a quickie view, and then when we can get it outside in the sun, I'll really do a good video of it. But you can, you know, and that might be after the throttle cables are on, but you can see how the flat black made a huge difference looking into there, not seeing all that overspray orange and the original color and the overspray from the repaint. Yeah, that just looked like heck up in there, but it's all, there's the brake line, and I'll check it for leaks. I'm going to hold the brake on really hard for a little bit, then I'm going to look for leaks. So far I don't see any, and I've had it on pretty good a couple of times. But yeah, you can kind of see the bike is looking good. Everything works. It cranks with spark. I haven't started it because, you know, the carburetors are dry of fuel. I had them off to change float bowls and double check the float levels, and the fuel hoses are still just kind of sitting right here, so I can pop it on and off. New petcock. It's a little arrow on there, and I might paint that arrow red or yellow or something so it's a little more visible, because I thought you put this handle, it says stop, on, reserve, and I put the handle over here thinking that this end had to be over here where it says stop, and gas poured out. I didn't have this on yet. It was sitting there, and it went all over myself and the rug, so I hurried up and turned it off. And then I put the bowl on, but yeah, I think a little dab or something that makes that stand out. I think I'll use red or yellow. And then I think I think yellow would look nice because of this. But anyway, there we go. New chain, O-ring chain. Like I say, the worst of this bike is the chrome. You can see a little bit of issue with the exhaust pipe chrome. That's the worst right there on the exhaust. And the wheel, the rear wheel is the worst chrome on the whole bike. And I'm going to try and find a better used rear wheel once I can get up to that motorcycle junkyard. I'll try and find one with no issues with the chrome. And then maybe I'll see if they have these that are in better shape too. These ones, the front ones aren't too bad, but you can see some, so I'll just see in these little bits here. So I'll go up to the motorcycle junkyard and see if I can find some better chrome bits that are cheap in the future. but I just thought I'd walk around and make a little video of the bike. This is kind of sitting on it. I got the mirrors somewhat set to where I like them. These mirrors look all right with these little bends like that. The mirrors on the other bike came up and then went straight across, and the mirror was kind of right in here. So it was close to this. So I actually kind of like these mirrors. Maybe these were the original, because if you look, the chrome is not that great on them. And that was the issue with this bike compared to that green bike. Put a photo of the green bike, that I think he'd swap the bars between the two bikes, because the chrome on those bars is pretty good, and the chrome that was on the green bike bars, you know, kind of went with the chrome like this. That's why I kind of think the bars were swapped. They may not have been, but you know, I just think they were. And that, you know, then he would have changed all the controls and, you know, the brake hose and cables and stuff. When they switched the bars, that would have made it really easy to switch, because you wouldn't have to chase down parts. I almost bought that green bike just so I could switch the bars, but I thought it's not worth it, because then I got to store it until I sell it. You know, I wouldn't have kept it, because it was turnkey. It needed nothing, and I like projects. But yeah, this bike really looks nice. I'm very, very happy with it. Everything works. You see the all the headlights, even the high beam indicator works. There. All the instrument lights work. The rear brake light with the hydraulic thing here. See if I can. That brake light works. Running light works. The parking light, when you turn the key all the way up, works, and it kills everything else on the bike. I have the spark turned off, but the starter works. The oil light works. How do you like that? Yeah, everything on the bike works as it should. Very happy with everything on it. Alright, we'll turn the key off. And another thing I did too, as long as I'm making a little bit of a video here, oops, put the key in the right way would help. The battery is hard to access with this cover on, so I put a little thing on from my battery maintainer, so I can just plug it in there directly and top the battery off as needed. And you know, without having to take the cover off, I can keep the battery maintained in it. And I'll take that off if and when I sell the bike in the future. I'm not going to sell it immediately. I'd like to ride it for at least one season. I got to get it on the road. I'll probably get insurance on it in the next couple weeks, so I can send in for the authentic tags and get it road legal. So the first nice weather, I can take it out and ride it and see if I need to rejet the carburetors or not. But anyway, this is, like I say, the final will be coming up once the throttle cables and get the seat cleaned up, and then, like I say, we'll do a video on installing the electronic ignition. But anyway, that is it for this video. If you liked it, definitely hit that thumbs up icon. It helps me out a lot. Doesn't cost anything. If you like my channel, that 348 engine icon that powers this covered up 59 Bel Air will help you subscribe. And thank you for watching my video.